Hello, my name is Pikiss-Chris.
And I'm Bastard Swordsman. Wow, that was really loud.
Yeah, we're very loud today. We're gonna scream your ears off because we love talking about movies so much, and you know, we have a lot to talk about today before we get into today's movie. So, yeah, what have you been up
We
to?
loudly support the unions who are striking, the
Yes,
Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA.
yes, we do. Yeah, we were talking about that just before we started recording. Uh,
Yeah, a bunch of big studio executives aren't paying writers and actors their dues, like paying them as much as they want, while the big dogs are making like tens of billions or even hundreds of millions of dollars like every year. And yeah, it's messed up. And, you know, people who actually make the art you consume are treated like dogs, and it's not cool.
yes. Uh, we gotta cut off the leashes. We got I gotta add something to the conversation that's cerebral.
No, yeah. No, but seriously, it is convenient to boycott a lot of big companies that the unions are striking against. Like, well, first off, one of the reasons that they're striking is also like the use of AI, which would, like some companies sort of like just record people and like do emotion captures and voice captures so that they can like, do deep fakes and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And it's, um, like big studios think, oh, well, we can just do it with AI, so we don't need to pay actual people. So we can really like just make basically machine automated movies. And it's pretty gross. Spits in the face of the medium of art. People only care about money.
Yeah. It boggles my mind that people that these people see like the premise of this movie can be written by a computer and think this will make us millions and not this will churn out absolute garbage that is
I
completely
mean,
nonsensical.
from someone who doesn't actually give a crap about movies and like just wants to make a lot of money, I can see where they're coming from. But if you got into the business, like, because, oh, you want to like support the medium and like, because, you had some sort of experience with film that had a profound impact on you, I don't see how you can do that without like, dying on the inside.
Yeah, a lot of folks who I used to have like respect for or at least like didn't think the hate for them was as justified as it was. I'm like, okay, no, these people have no integrity. The Rizzo brothers, I thought they did a
The Russos,
yeah,
like the guys who did the Avengers movies.
yeah, I thought they did a decent job of making that as coherent as it could be. And I was like, you know what? Is like a big finale to like a big crossover franchise that was pretty decent. But like hearing them like talk about the value in big old air quotes of like using AI to advance the film industry, it's just like even if you're only in this for money, like how can you say that and not how can you not understand that like a human element needs to be there even for like simple like blockbuster projects. It it it, it cannot literally be machine automated because there's nothing to engage with.
Yeah, like a lot of my favorite movies sort of emotionally resonate with me. They feel like they have a pulse, like it came from somewhere personal, like it's made by someone who has, their own, you know, worldview, their own experiences that they're drawing upon to, make this story. And if you just, make it with AI, it completely, you know, guts the human element of film. But I'm not really surprised that the Russos would say that. They seem more like businessmen than actual like auteurs.
Yeah. Well, I don't even I wouldn't even call them like auteurs. I just thought that they were like competent, but this is just like yeah, the AI thing is scummy, but like it's not even sustainable long term. It's not
Hmm.
even sustainable short term because like I doubt even the most casual of movie audiences will want to see movies that soulless.
Yeah, I mean, a, a lot of the big blockbusters that have been coming out lately have been massive flops, like the new Indiana Jones, the Flash, the new Disney movie Elemental. Like they like didn't even make enough money to make a profit. Like, and these are like big, like juggernaut IPs, like Lucasfilm, DC, like an original. Wait, no, I think Elemental is Pixar. Like well-regarded franchises that can't even break even, and it's like one after the other. And people are just gonna getting sick of this sort of corporate slop. But aside from all that, like also there's just really concerning practices from a lot of the big streaming sites like Disney Plus and Netflix and stuff, just permanently taking down original programming, like original shows and movies, as tax write-offs, and like assuming nobody pirates these, that's, and
No
not to say
media
that these,
preservation.
yeah, like not to say that the stuff being taken down is usually very good, but it just sets a very concerning precedent. Um, like, hey, like, oh, like streaming, it's so convenient. You pay several, like, however much a month, and you have access to all these stuff. You can watch as much as you want, but hey, like, say you really like a movie or a show, gets taken down, like, oh, no access to it unless you own it physically, or you pirate it. Not really explicitly condoning piracy because legal reasons, but that is something that people do to make sure they can actually watch something and that they will always be able to watch something.
But here's like the thing about like owning something physically. Like there unless you're like a a TV show that's been around for a long time or like a blockbuster, very little like streaming original stuff is getting physical releases. So like the moment it's deleted off of like the platform, that's it's gone. It for all intents and purposes, it's you know not out there anymore. I think of all like the streaming original shows out there, the only one I've ever seen like a Blu-ray release for was goddamn Camp Cretaceous in a Target once. So
I mean, they did have a House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. I saw those at Best Buy, but yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a really expensive hobby collecting, but I like to buy Blu-rays every once in a while, and um, if anything, I think that just sort of validates the practice of collecting because it's sort of been falling out of favor a little bit.
Yeah, I just, just media preservation is important. You know, paying, writers and creatives for what they're worth, their dues for giving us their art is worth it. It's having things made by human beings and not like executives and a pie chart and HAL 9000. It's
Hmm.
just we are literally in self-parody mode right now. Like this feels like a sketch on like South Park or something. Like we
This is
fired
this is literally idiocracy, bro. It's funny that you mentioned South Park because they did an episode in 2007 making fun of the writers' strike in 2007.
Oh yeah, I saw that episode. That was fucking dumb.
Very questionable moment in
No, no, no. Here's the
the
thing.
show.
Like they're like, fucking. Why do you want residuals for streaming? They say as they're getting rich off of streaming residuals. Like, come the fuck on, guys.
Uh, well, yeah, the big companies that are at fault right now, I believe, are Netflix, Disney, Warner Brothers, and Amazon. Um, Not too difficult not to support Amazon or not Amazon, Netflix and Disney because they don't really make anything good anyway. But Amazon is tough because they make everything and yeah, they like you can buy anything off of them, so it's kind of difficult to boycott them. But uh, you know,
Also, just a matter of getting other people to boycott with you,
yeah,
because like you can be like, well, I'm not gonna buy anything from Amazon, but like chances are, if like a birthday or Christmas or whatever comes around, like most of the gifts you're gonna get are gonna be something bought off of Amazon. So
I
yeah,
think the last time I supported or I gave Disney money was when I went to see Nightmare Alley.
that is. I keep forgetting that's a Disney movie because
Yeah, because Fox Searchlight.
yeah, and also like Del Toro was just like such a auteur. Like it's like finding out that like The Godfather is a Disney movie or something. It probably
Yeah,
isn't though.
I mean, there was the Godfather reference in Zootopia, so close enough.
Yeah, that unfunny reference that everyone said was funny for some reason.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, that's happening. Fuck those companies. Hopefully, the unions are able to negotiate better conditions, better deals for writers and actors.
I hope Hollywood has like a
Yeah,
big crash, just like a big economic failure coming. Cause like
kind
we're
of due for one.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, like if you want to get into film yourself, well, I mean, you pretty much there'll always be independent ways to make films, but um I don't know. As a watcher of movies, I don't think I'll care because, I mean, there are other film industries aside from Hollywood that exist. Like, you can just watch movies from other countries, but yeah.
Most of what I've been doing recently is like I'm not as big into foreign markets as you are. I've just been going back to like older stuff, but it really does suck that in our country at least there is no newer stuff coming out, and it is because of the way writers are treated, and the trends, the not just the cape shit, but like the weird ass direction blockbusters and generals have been going lately. It's
Hmm.
yeah, we're just overdue for like a big fucking Hollywood recession. So yeah.
Well, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think this is, given the film we saw, a good jumping off point to get right into it.
Yeah. Speaking of how much Hollywood sucks, I recommended a film about how much Hollywood sucks. It's from 2018, directed by, let me see, David Robert Mitchell. He did It Follows. The film is called Under the Silver Lake and has Andrew Garfield as sort of like this, you know, basically he's just a bum and he sort of stumbles upon maybe a big, massive conspiracy and he tries delving deeper into it. And yeah, it's a very odd movie. Um, the story is not really like a lot of other movies I've seen, but it was pretty interesting, I think. What did you think of it?
I think that you have to be in a particular mindset to really appreciate what this film is trying to do. Uh, this is a film, this is sort of the comparison I make anyway, that's sort of operating on dream logic a little bit. Like, not to the same extent as a film like Beau is Afraid, but that's like the main comparison that came to my head.
Yeah.
uh there is a lot of social commentary and personal anxiety in this film regarding media consumption and
Spoilers.
nostalgia. Yeah, yeah, spoilers, but like, media consumption, nostalgia, uh the way we engage with art and have it define us, and how like unfulfilled we feel. But
Mm.
there are some moments that like I feel like are handled really well, but there are others where like it's just so offbeat that it's really hard for me to try and understand how it fits cohesively with like the rest of the film thematically or even like narratively.
Yeah, there are a lot of plot threads in the film that are left pretty much like dangling, and like some things will just sort of happen, and like, there won't really be any follow up. It
I
reminds me of another film that I saw called Inherent Vice by Paul Thomas Anderson, which also sort of like, I mean, basically I'd like describe them as sort of stoner films, although this is like less about drugs, but like, I don't know, they're like sort of very hazy and stuff sort of just happens. But I'd say there is more of a point to this film.
Yeah, I would also kind of describe this as a stoner film. It does have that sort of surface level anti-authority vibe to it. It is definitely very, you know, critical of Hollywood, LA, and and the sort of culture they create and how it affects the rest of us. But the thing I think
Hmm.
is interesting is the way it sort of commentates on how we rebel against it. You know, we rebel against
Yeah,
pop culture by forming our identity around bits of
pop
pop
culture.
culture. Yeah, uh, like punk and rock and roll and these little countercultural movements that are like pushed by capitalism. You know,
Yeah, like the film does say that the establishment sucks, but rebelling is another form of going along with the establishment, and it's sort of like just inescapable,
yeah,
which is like really cynical, but also kind of true.
it's it's honestly kind of cathartic for me a little bit. Like it is depressing and it is, especially with everything we've talked about and the state that, you know, the film industry is in right now, but so I know so many people who like define themselves solely by their superiority complex,
Mm,
because they're part of like a counterculture movement, and it's just like none of them really want to like admit that big elephant in the room. And I think the
hmm.
fact that this film, tackles that, where a lot of other films are just like, whoa, this fucking cheeseburger is selling poison to me or whatever. It's like it's
Yeah,
saying something more real than just like a an elect few are smart enough to see past the bullshit, you know?
yeah. Um, so when this film came out, well, it debuted at Cannes, big film festival. Um, it had mixed reception, and it did terribly, like when it released, like nationwide. It like made $2 million, and like the big like studios wanted to shut it down. Basically, they did not like the film. They did not want it to do well.
Even if there wasn't like imagine Hollywood would not like this film. Even if they weren't against it, I can't really see this film doing well financially.
Yeah, it is kind of niche and
Yeah,
weird.
yeah. To be honest, I do like things about this movie. I have stated
Mm.
previously I am a big Andrew Garfield fan. Silence is one of my favorite films to come out in recent years. I will also defend the first Amazing Spider-Man film, but
Hmm.
you know, he does a pretty good job here. It's a little hard for me to buy him as like this bum when he looks
Yeah,
like when he looks like Andrew Garfield. It's very distracting. The movie even like makes it a plot point that he can basically like that he can't get laid without hiring prostitutes most of the time,
hmm.
but like he looks like Andrew Garfield. So,
I mean, he is Andrew Garfield, but he smells like a skunk.
yeah, but that only happens like midway through the film after he
Mm,
literally gets sprayed by a skunk.
yeah. I
Uh,
almost got sprayed by a skunk a couple days ago, actually.
yeah. Isn't it like actually impossible to wash off the smell of a skunk? I've heard it
I
is.
mean, eventually it will go away. I'm pretty sure, but like it just sort of dissipates on its own eventually. But if you do a tomato juice bath, it basically like sort of overpowers that smell a bit.
Yeah. Uh, I have no
Um,
what
but
the fuck
yeah,
should
but
I
like
say?
so. Andrew Garfield like meets this chick and he's like really into her, but he thinks, oh, I'm gonna hit it off with this girl, but then she like just vanishes, and so then he decides, oh, he needs to find out about it, but like he's not like a noble character at all. Like, he participates in voyeurism. He's like pretty misogynistic.
He hates the
He
homeless.
yeah, I mean, maybe they had it coming, but he did beat the shit out of a couple kids. You don't see a movie protagonist do that pretty
I
very frequently.
No, he literally, like, I forgot about this. He literally shoves an egg in a kid's mouth and like forces him to chew on it till he starts bleeding.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah. I do
Um,
like, oh, what were you gonna say?
um, well, also he's like, sort of part of like, he's trying to uncover this big conspiracy, but like he's also, he stands for the same quote unquote values of the establishment because like there's that scene where it's like, oh, there's sex and subliminal messages and all that, but he's also just like really horny and he jerks off to pornography and he's already basically been consumed by that, and he's big porn and sex addict, so he already buys into you know what they're selling him.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that, again, you don't see a lot of these like rebel against the system movies where the main character, there's actually some awareness on the writer's part that they're kind of fucking hypocrites. He only really rebels against the system insofar as it allows him to feel special, not because he has any actual moral convictions about what it's doing to people. Like I said earlier, he said he hates the homeless, and it's
Well, the
not.
biggest way that he rebels against the system is by not paying his rent.
Yeah, you know, he hates the homeless, but he's close to being it himself, and it's not even like he can't even say like he was screwed over by like those damn CEOs or whatever. He's just a lazy bastard.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think it's kind of implied that the reason he goes off looking for this girl in the first place isn't even because he's like all that into her. It's more so just because he wants to like bring some meaning into his
Yeah.
life, because
Wants a bit
it's,
of thrill.
yeah, it's like a distraction from the fact that he's just some, cog in the machine that's not as special as he thought he would have ended up based on all of like the fucking media he consumed,
Hmm.
you know.
um the one of the craziest scenes is definitely the scene where he comes across the songwriter. That might be the craziest scene in the film, actually.
Yeah. I'm kind of mixed
And
on that scene.
well, I thought it was really funny because like he like every single like little like ditty he plays on the piano is like a real pop song. Like those are all real songs, so it's kind of funny to recognize a lot of those and sort of go back and catch them. But it also like shows how widespread the it all goes.
Goes to the top. Yeah. I mean, I do feel that like the film kind of flounders on its commentary a bit in that scene because like there is an elite, and there is like this, this clique of people that all see themselves as like superior to the masses, but
Mhm.
it's more it's less like a sinister old James Bond villain manipulating things from behind
Yeah.
the scenes. you know it's less Illuminati shit, and it's more like parasocial people who need the validation of the masses to feel special. It's really not that different from how we see ourselves and Andrew's character sees himself in the people in the media he consumes. It's like, they're playing pretend, and they need to like be be validated for that. Like there's some truth to the fantasy or whatever. And I don't know, just like foregoing that in favor of saying like, no, it's a fucking super villain. It's Lex Luthor. He's controlling the world by writing fucking Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's just a little goofy for me.
Mhm. I can also see why someone would find it like sort of hypocritical, like and a bit like pompous to call to imply that those songs are like, part like just cogs in the machine and part of like or, or really just like artless,
Yeah, it's like
because that also sort of implies that, oh no, the film isn't like this film is serious though.
it's like even if like something is made within a corrupt system, that doesn't mean that it's devoid of like artistic merit. Like,
Yeah, like the Soviets had some amazing art.
yeah, it's like you go all the way back to the beginning of human history. We didn't even have like democracy as a concept. Everything was a theocracy or an absolute monarchy. And yet nobody is like, the Epic of Gilgamesh is problematic because it was made by people in this society. Like, no, it's like there's still like human integrity and like perspective in that, you know?
Hmm.
I'm getting fake deep again. I apologize. Oh my god.
No, you're just like putting down what you think, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh I want to I do want to say some positives about the film because I feel like I bitch slapped it a little there. I I do think that that oh my fucking god. I I I do think that the film is really good at mixing comedy with like thriller mystery elements.
Hmm.
This is just like, it's not laugh out loud funny, but I did chuckle a lot at this film while watching it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not really like like the style doesn't stand out really like too much, but it is, well shot and choreographed and framed and all that. Um, like I feel, yeah, David Robert Mitchell doesn't really have his own style, but he is like a talented director. Did you see It Follows?
I think I heard of it. I didn't see it, no.
Yeah. It's a good film. I'd say these two films are about as good, but I'd say this is more interesting, and it has a more ambitious premise.
Yeah. Um it is definitely like I wouldn't say it always works, but I do think it's interesting the way this film mixes sort of, the conspiracy with like sort of this made up urban myth stuff. Uh
Mm-hmm.
the stuff about the dog killer and the owl lady. Not
Well, it sort of also like ties into, how Hollywood has its own mythology surrounding it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Uh but it's more like it's the mythology they use here is more like an urban myth. It's more in line with like the
Mm-hmm.
Jersey Devil and Bigfoot than it is, or even like Jack the Ripper kind of stuff than it is like the mythology of the star-studded whatever, you know? So, yeah. I just kind of wish there was more of that in the film because they sort of drop it, you know,
Yeah.
after a
It
point.
it did sort of lose me a bit with that scene towards the end with the cult, and it like went on for a bit too long too.
I I will say the most interesting thing about the cult is, I've said this before, I'm not a big fan of like goofy evil cults and secret societies and movies. Is the most interesting thing is how they see themselves, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They they see themselves as this like elect basically that's like meant to have all the happiness and material things in the world, and be free from the suffering and just miasma of, mundanity. You know, it's not a wholly original concept, but I'm glad that it's like that, and it's not like they're, secretly worshiping a fucking demon or something.
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of A24 horror movies.
Yeah, basically, the only demon cult I found kind of interesting was the one in The Empty Man, because
Mm,
less so for like the motives of the cult itself and more so like the ambiguity between like
yeah.
love, the relationship between their mind making it real and them like having weird perceptions of something larger than them. Here there is sort of a religious thing, but it's more like symbolic, and it seems more like a hopeful delusion
Yeah.
of we're in the same tradition as the pharaohs. We'll bury ourselves in luxurious tombs and then ascend to a glorious afterlife. And it seems like a sort of lie, that they're telling themselves, like, because they're, for all their money and power, they're afraid of dying just like everyone else.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
I think the to sum it up sort of bluntly, I think the message of the film is basically Hollywood sucks, the establishment sucks, but most people already know that, and like there's nothing that most people can really do about it.
Yeah.
So might as well just enjoy your life.
Yeah. I do
Although
think,
support the unions.
yeah, I do think it is interesting how like the film doesn't end with him being killed or anything. He's just let back out into the world to, just continue existing, because it's like he can't change anything.
No.
Nah. and he really doesn't like believe he can anyway. So he got his answers, and now he's back to being like a nobody who doesn't have like a deeper purpose.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um. Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about it?
uh, I remember looking at IMDb after I was done watching the film and being surprised that Topher Grace was in this movie because he
Yeah,
looks,
he plays like his friend.
yeah, he looks absolutely nothing like Topher Grace.
I feel like Topher Grace kind of looks different in a lot of movies, though.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in all that much stuff.
Honestly, his most memorable role for me will always be in Spider-Man 3,
Venom,
where
Venom,
he
Venom,
literally,
Venom.
whereas many people have pointed out on Twitter before, he literally prayed for a man's death.
I want you to kill Peter Parker. This is like two Peter Parkers he's like interacted with.
That's true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's kind of funny how he just sort of like finds a new place to shack over while the people evicting him, come in and to his old apartment, and he's not even there anymore.
Yeah. He gets to bunk with a cougar, you know, he's living my dream.
Damn.
Yeah. Should have been me.
It should have been me.
Oh boy. But yeah, no.
Yeah.
I actually think the more I talk about this film, the more I like it. Because I was sort of iffy while seeing it, and now I'm like, no, you know, this film actually has a lot going for it. So, yeah,
I think I would probably appreciate more about it on a second viewing, but I think for now I'd give it like a 7.
yeah, I'd probably give it, yeah, 7 too. You know, like I said, there's a lot of like loose plot threads that don't go anywhere. Uh, but you know, the overall all like content of the film, you know, the main character and like what a hypocrite he is, and you know the way he sort of engages with culture. You know, it's a lot more interesting than the average sex, cocaine, and power movie or whatever. I don't know why I called
Mm-hmm.
it that genre, but
Scarface.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, if you can get your hands on this movie, I would recommend watching it. Probably watch it with a friend. This seems like the sort of film that would be more enjoyable if you could like, you know, commentate on it with like another person in the room.
Mm-hmm. I watched it with a friend of my own, actually,
Why didn't you invite me?
because work schedules.
I see. Yeah. All right.
But
So,
yeah, you can get the film on Blu-ray if you want. That's an option. Um, Let me see. It's on DirecTV. If you have it through university or a library, then you can watch it on Canopy. It's on other stuff like Apple TV and stuff, but I don't know. Nobody uses that.
you're right. Nobody does use Apple.
Well, they use Apple, but not Apple TV.
Well, I guess.
Although the new Scorsese movie is coming out through that.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm. I feel sorry for him. He deserves a better streaming service that probably
He
does
deserve
not exist at this time.
should I mean, I don't know. He should just release his film through Janus Films, which are like the company that owns Criterion or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Very,
So
very good film. And you should watch it.
I agree.
Yeah. Fucking bum.
So Chris, it's your turn to recommend something, I believe. Have you decided on something?
I'm thinking next time we come in, uh, I'm in the mood for another Del Toro film. So I'm just, I think we should watch Pan's Labyrinth. Yeah.
Pretty acclaimed film. I haven't seen that in a while. It'll be interesting going back to it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of his more well-known films. Like most people when I say Del Toro don't know who I'm talking about when I say Pan's Labyrinth, there's like a 50-50 chance they'll be like, "Oh, the guy who made that film. Yeah, I like that film."
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll be back to talk about Pan's Labyrinth. You can get that on Blu-ray. It's one of the few Criterion Collection films I own. I think I mentioned that before, but yeah, if you can get it, go ahead and be ready to talk about it with us in spirit, of course, when we release the next episode.
Alrighty. See ya.
Peace.